This video is going to be all about our basic assignment operators. Now, by this point in time, you've probably run into the most common assignment operator, which is the equals sign. So let's begin with it. Let my variable equal some text. Now, when we talk about the basic assignment operator, we are of course talking about our assignment operator right here. So the equal sign. Now, when we're dealing with the equal sign, so the assignment operator, really it is the primary instruction set for our programming language that tells the computer or the execution environment to take whatever is on the right side and assign it to or provide it to whatever is on the right side. So in the situation right here that we're talking about, we've got a string that is some text. So as JavaScript goes through and reads the execution, so JavaScript, as it's going through the execution environment, whether it be in the browser or Node.js, is going to read from top down, and then it is going to read from left to right, like English. And so when it runs into this particular line, what it's going to do is it's going to run into the let statement right here. And the let says, hey, let's get ready to set up a variable, so a container to store some data. It goes to the computer, grabs itself some memory, and then provides us the address to that memory, and we give it a human readable name, a name that we can easily remember and understand and use throughout our program in order to refer back to that memory location through something that is meaningful and human readable. So we've got a little data container right here that sits in memory on the computer, and we don't need to know what that memory address is. And then it runs into the equal sign. So after it's set up that data container, it runs into this equal sign and it says, all right, so let's get ready now to stuff something into that data container so we can use it later on in our program. So the equal sign says, be prepared to stuff some data into our container. And on the right hand side, so anything following the equal sign, is going to be the data that is going to be placed into that data container. So this some text string is going to be stuffed into that variable. So that means later on, when we go and we use the variable, so we'll use our good old console.log and my variable, and we'll go ahead and run it. And down here, oops, when I did my save, I accidentally did a weird symbol. All right, so down here we'll see that inside of this variable, we now have some data called some text, and then we can output that to the console, or we can use it in our program later on. So, good old-fashioned assignment operator. So, next we will move on to a compound assignment operator. Now, these compound assignment operators are very similar to what we learned in basic arithmetic operators in the previous screencast. And what it is we simply take the plus sign with an equal sign, so the addition operator with the assignment operator, and we now have a powerful tool to do all kinds of things for us in our programming. So let's start with the addition assignment operator. So that is going to be the plus equals, and it's going to look like this, and we call this the addition assignment operator. And we'll do it with math first, and we will see that we can use math or we can use strings when it comes to the addition assignment operator. This is unique to the addition assignment operator because the other operators, like the subtraction assignment operator, multiplication assignment operator, divide assignment operator, and the remainder assignment operator, they only operate on numbers. But the addition assignment operator can operate on strings, which is really quite cool. So let's set up some initial strings to play with, and let's use first name, and his name's going to be Joe, and then let's do a last name, Smith, and then let's say in our program we really want to dynamically, as the program executes, put together what is somebody's full name. And let's say that we don't have all of the data initially, so full name is empty. And then later on in the program, somehow, either through a web form, somebody fills it out, or we get it from a database or from a web service, we actually end up with the first name and the last name. And then we want to put together their full name for display purposes. And so with this contrived example, we're going to show how the addition assignment operator can be used to build strings dynamically as your program executes. Of course, we're going to want to put this out to the console so that we can see the results of these operations. So I'm going to go ahead, do a console.log with the full name in it, and then I am going to copy it so that I can just copy and paste it after each line that we do a new operator or a new statement using the addition assignment operator. So let's say that we got the first name first, and we want to add it to the full name, which is currently just an empty string. We can use the plus equals addition assignment operator, and we can add to it first name, and then let's see what we get outputted. So right here, at first, this first output, we're putting out the full name, and right now it's just an empty string, so we have an empty string. Then we use this plus or the addition assignment operator, and we add the first name to it. And then let's say later on we get back the last name, and we want to go ahead and add it. And then let's go ahead and see what it puts out for us. Oh, we got a Joe and we got a Smith, but we can see the two names are stuck super close together. So we want to fix that. So let's do full name plus equals, let's do a string with a space in it. And then let's go ahead and execute it. That looks a lot better. We got Joe space Smith. Now that looks like a full name. As you can see, using the addition assignment operator, we can use it on strings, and it is really quite cool and powerful when we're trying to build strings. Now this is a pretty contrived example. You may or may not do this specific example, but I think you can get a hint as to where this could go. So we're going to use, so this was an example of the plus addition operator on strings. Now let's look at the plus assignment operator as used with numbers, which is more familiar, probably more normal. When you think about it and you're new to programming, you would expect the addition operator to be used solely on numbers. It's just really cool that it can be used on strings. So we'll use the plus assignment operator on numbers. And let's start out with 500. So let my num equal 500. And then let's again get our console.log all set up and copy it to our clipboard so we can just paste it where we need it. So my num, we expect that to start out, is just a 500. Now if we want to add something to my num, so if we've got some data that came in through a database or a web service or through some calculations and it needs to be added to that 500, we can use the addition assignment operator. So let's do my num plus equals, and then we got maybe 50. We wanted to add 50 to it. So if we go ahead and run that, we should see 500 and then 550 as expected. Now, if you remember back to this operator in the basic arithmetic operators, it was this plus plus. We learned that you could increment this number, or my num, by 1 and then assign it back to itself with that operator. But we talked about how this operator, we really couldn't add arbitrary values to it. Well, with the plus or the addition assignment operator, now we can go ahead and increment or increase the value of one of our variables with an arbitrary number simply by using the addition assignment operator. Makes it really convenient. All right, now the other basic ones we have are going to be our subtraction assignment operator. And with it, let's go ahead and reset my num back to 500 so we know what value we are working with. And my num equals 500, so we just reset it to 500. We can verify that just by logging it out. And then if for some reason we have a value that we want to remove from my num, so let's go ahead and remove 100, we can use that subtraction assignment operator. So let's go ahead and run the code. And we should see it drop from 500. You can see that we reset it, and then we drop it by 100. So that is the subtraction assignment operator. Great for dynamically removing arbitrary values from a root number. We also have the multiplication assignment operator. And with this one, it's very similar to the use of all the others. Let's reset this to 500 so we know what our initial value is that we're playing with. And then we can go ahead and if we needed to multiply this number, so we initially had 500, we ordered new widgets, and now we ordered 3 times what we currently have in widgets. And we want to go ahead and update that amount so that it's proper in our inventory system. Then we can go ahead and use that multiplication assignment operator. And we'll see, we reset it to 500 right here. And then we multiplied 500, or the original value, by 3. And then the result of that operation was plugged right back into the mynum. And now mynum has 3 times its initial value. So that would be the multiplication assignment operator. Another good one that we have for use is the divide. So divide assignment operator. And very similar to all the other ones, let's reset our initial mynum, and then let's play around with the divide. So let's say that we just sold a bunch of widgets, and we sold a certain percentage of our original number of widgets. We can go ahead and let's say divide by assignment operator, and let's say that we sold about 50% of our widgets that we initially had in inventory. So that's going to be 2. So we're cutting it in half, or 50%. And so when we execute this, we should see that we had 500 to start out with after we reassigned it to our initial value. And then we sold 50% of our total inventory, which would cut our inventory in half, or it would be divided by 2. And then we ended up with 250. So just as we expected. Another cool operator that we have that is less used than these others is the remainder assignment operator. All right, so with the remainder assignment operator, let's come up with an example really quick that we can use to show how we might use the remainder assignment operator. So let's pretend we're going to a trade show. We've got a certain number of widgets that we're going to sell, and a certain number of people come to our booth and want to purchase our widgets. And we want to make sure that everybody gets an equal number, and then we want to find out how many we have left over in order to be able to sell some to the remainder of the people that might come to our booth later on. So let's do inventory equals 500, and then let's say that visitors equals 95. All right, so we begin, we're at our booth, 95 people swarm our booth because our widgets are so cool. We've got 500 of them. There are 95 people, and they want to buy as many as they can. But you want to go ahead and make sure it's fair. So you're going to want to make sure that, number one, you give everybody as many as you can, and it's fair. But then you also want to make sure that you at least have a few widgets left over in order to sell to those one-off people that come up to your booth. So you got 95. 95, you can tell by the 500, it divides pretty well into the 500, leaving you some leftovers. So let's calculate out how many we can sell to each person without going over the 500. So let inventory, let's see, count to sell equal 500 divided by 95. And let's do a console out of that so we can see what we're doing, where we've come out. Count to sell. And if we run that, we can sell 5 to each person, and then it looks like we'll have some crazy leftovers right there. So with that, we just figured out that we can sell each person 5 widgets and still have some left over. And if we want to find out exactly how many we'll have left over that we can sell, in other words, full units that we can sell, full widgets, because we're not going to chop any of them up, then we can go ahead and we can find out what it is, what our leftover is going to be. So let's do let inventory, I can't type, let inventory remainder equal 95. Oh, I can't use let because we already have inventory. So inventory, and then let's do our console so we can see where we're at. And let's run it. All right. So we can sell everybody 5 units and keep all of them happy. And then we'll still have about 25 units left over that we can then sell to other people. So we'll just go ahead and call that good on the remainder assignment operator. Now, that's a totally contrived example. I hope it gives you kind of an idea where you could go with the modulus assignment operator. I've rarely used it in my software development, but you might find a time where you use it.